Hello and welcome. My name is Oscar Lara, and today I'm going to be talking about the site that I chose. As you can see here, it's Coro de Casa, the 18th hole over there in Tribuco Canyon, California. For my first pest, I chose cutworms, and some facts about cutworms and their biology is that they're a larva that curl into a C shape when disturbed. Cutworms vary in color but are mostly black. Other species are often green, gray, tan, and brown, and they're 1 to 2 inches in length. Typically, one key factor about cutworms is that they look like they're covered in grease, so that's another way to identify if it's a cutworm or not, depending on other worms like armyworms, such as. They undergo a complete metamorphosis. They usually undergo 4 stages, which is the egg, larva, pupa, and adult moth. But we are mostly focusing on the cutworms because those are the ones that make the most damage. Their form of transportation is crawling with their 6 legs and prolegs along their abdomen, as you can see there in the photo on the top left. Um, you could definitely see their legs in the front, and you see the little prolegs. They usually have 1 to 2 generations per year on average, but can have 4 or more due to climate. They lay up to 350 to 2,000 eggs depending on the species, mainly present in the spring and absent in the late fall. Cutworms love areas with excessive weeds, thick thatch, and poor soils, and usually crows are the predators. That's one of the way the key. If you can't find them in the soil, just look for the birds and the crows that are specifically in that area. So they've been feeding on them before, so they'll always be in that area to start feeding. Um, there's a good graph right here that I found online. As you can see there, in May and June, a lot of these 3 types of species of cutworms, they're mostly active when they're larvas. A little cool fact about cutworms is they get their name from their ability to cut down young plants at the base of the stem. Uh, some symptoms of damage for cutworms is that they cut through young plants, causing patchy or dead grass that are snipped at the base. They often show circular spots in the hole, as you can see there in the photo. They usually have little holes that they enter in, and that's where they start making their damages when they're feeding on the stems. It is recommended to do a soapy water test. Just use some dish soap and some water, and it irritates the cutworms, which causes them to emerge. And these are some control methods for cutworms. As you can see there, genetic, it's application of BT, which is a bacterium and beneficial nematodes. Dethatching for cultural to eliminate resting habitat for larvae. Avoid wet areas by irrigating properly. Some biological is some braconid wasps and tachinid flies. Birds are also common to feed on cutworms, as you can see there in the previous slides. That the crows are definitely one of the ones that are feeding and looking for cutworms. Chemical use of insecticides are key to eliminate cutworms. Recommended insecticide is acylaprin G. Insecticide is known to eliminate cutworms. And mechanical, as you can see there, soapy water flush, and the other one's called, sorry, my camera's in the way, but it's barriers around the seedlings preventing the cutworms to feed on it. Um, for what I chose are the cultural, chemical, mechanical. Starting with the cultural, one of the better methods to not only eliminate cutworms but also improve turf. That's why I chose it, because we're working on a golf course here. So we could dethatch. So what basically dethatching is removing all the organic matter in the thatch in the soil. So it could be from dead grass, poor soils, and we're cleaning all that up, which is basically interrupting the the cutworms and how they're feeding. Chemical proper spraying and amount of needed for cutworms control. Like I said earlier, acylaprin G is an insecticide to control cutworms. So when it comes to golf courses, we have an inventory of certain insecticides, fungicides, and and herbicides to in pre-emergence to work with. So we could definitely add in that to our inventory to definitely help us. And mechanical, a lot of cheaper to help monitor for other control methods. So this is more for like working with the other ones. We could definitely use that soapy water uh, flush method. So all we need to do is get 1 tablespoon of liquid dish soap. It could be any Downy or whatever in a gallon of water per gallon of water. So basically, we add that to the certain area, and then you start to immerse. It's not going to harm the turf, and it's definitely going to help us find where exactly these cutworms are, so we could start using these other 2 methods for sure. All right, so my second one is dollar spot. That's definitely the pathogen. So when it comes to dollar spot, it is caused by a fungus that forms mycelium. Signs are small, circular spots in lawns, which are very noticeable when putting greens and fairways, and they're usually 1 to 3 inches in diameter. Best described as a form of blight and necrosis. Sorry. They're common during the spring and fall months in California, especially on annual bluegrass. It forms overwintering structures during unfavorable periods. It moves through mechanical transport of infected plant material. Moderate temperatures varies from 60 to 85 degrees with high humidity and leaf wetness. Their preferred hosts are cool season turf grasses that are mowed low, so especially putting greens, it's creeping bentgrass and poa annual, or as other people say, annual bluegrass. They're severe on nitrogen deficient turf, so it's usually when those putting greens when they need nitrogen and they're actually taking away the nitrogen from those turf grasses. It overwinters in the crowns and roots of infected grass plants. Active mid spring through fall, competes with turf grass for nitrogen, as I said earlier. Caused by a fungus that is always present, only becomes active under specific environmental conditions. Another cool fact about dollar spot, it got its name from being the size of the silver dollar. So this is an old pathogen that was found back in the day when the silver dollar was still active. Some damage symptoms about dollar spot. There are spots around the putting green that are small, become sunken, causing putting surface to be hollow. So not only is it bad for your turf, but it's also bad for the golfers because they're putting and it's going to be uneven, and then it's going to start affecting their golf game, which is going to be very bad for the company. Change of color starting from brown, then eventually white. These are the 5 methods here for the dollar spot. For genetic, planting turf grass that are resistant to dollar spot. For cultural, proper maintenance, applying proper fertilization with nitrogen, proper irrigation and mowing at an appropriate height. Biological, beneficial organisms that fight off pathogens. Sorry for the miss error. Chemical, applying fungicides that eliminate dollar spot but should be repeated to avoid resistance. A common fungicide is Insignia SC with a mixture of other fungicide for complete control. Raising, mowing, height, and removing dew with rollers. That's mechanical. So I chose 4 control methods that we could definitely use for the site. Resistance turf is important to support fighting off pathogens for the first option. Perennial ryegrass and creeping bentgrass are known to be resistant to dollar spot. So as you can see here, usually in our course we have perennial ryegrass, so it's definitely going to help resist that dollar spot. And we're mostly going to focus on the poa annua, which is not really a resistant turf, but we could definitely use the pesticides or the chemicals to fight it off. Another way is to apply fertilizer that have nitrogen to improve turf and fight off pathogen. You got to find a good NPK ratio, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So a good example here is like a 16-4-8, 16 nitrogen, 4 phosphorus, and 8 potassium. Or 20-0-10, which is the same thing, which is more nitrogen, no phosphorus, and only 10 potassium. Chemical pests to use as a sort of fungicide that are specialized to control pathogen, known as a poor man's disease. So we're definitely gonna put a little more money for sure and invest more in our greens to make it the best possible and fungicide free, like this one we're talking about right here, dollar spot. Finally, with mechanical, greens are mowed daily. Fairways are mowed 3 times a week, so we could definitely fight off that dew, like they said earlier. Every mower has rollers, so it's definitely going to help us remove the dew. And also, we roll greens every single day, so it's definitely going to take off all that dew, and it's definitely going to be a way to help prevent that disease from being in our putting greens or on our fairways. But thank you so much. This is the end of the video, and thank you for listening, and have a great day.